Hey, what's going on? Today I want to talk about how you can optimize longevity genes. And if you want to live a long, healthy life, this is something super key, and this is something that you're going to want to learn how to do so you can really extend your life, not just how long you live, but also extend your health span. And when you activate these genes, not only do you live longer, but you help your body to make more energy, you optimize your detoxification pathways, and there are different genes that control your longevity. So this is a goal of yours. You're going to want to really learn what you have to do to turn on these longevity genes. Now, one thing I want to talk about is you actually have three genomes. And most of the health people out there, most of the research, in fact, 98% of NIH research goes to the human genome. There's also the mitochondrial genome, and there's also the microbiome genome. And they get very little funding, they get very little attention, but the key point here that I want you to understand is these three genomes work together. And for you to be optimal, for you to live a long, healthy life, all three of these genomes need to be communicating with each other. And when they do that, you're able to activate different genes. So the first genome, the human genome, you get from mom and dad, and that's responsible for a lot of your traits. And a lot of people, even a lot of doctors today, they blame the rise in cancer rates and all these different diseases, all these chronic diseases we're seeing today on your genes. And if you think you just got you lost the lottery when it came to your genome, that's just not the case, because there's this other science called epigenetics, which means your environment. So the food you eat, the stress you're under, and how well you manage that, your exposure to different EMFs, your exposure and connection to nature, all these different things actually have the ability to turn your genes on and off. So you definitely want to be eating healthy foods, exercising, connecting with nature. But we're going to go a few steps further here today. So the next genome is the mitochondrial genome, and you get that exclusively from mom. So if you take a look at your mother, if you take a look at your mother's mother, and they're both in great health, or maybe they're no longer with you today, but they lived a long, healthy life and they were relatively free of disease, that's a very good indication that you started out with very healthy mitochondria. Now, if your mother or your mother's mother, your grandmother on the maternal side, if they weren't healthy, that's not necessarily a death sentence for you, but that does mean you are going to have to do a little more work to really optimize the health of your mitochondria. And I talk about that in a lot of other videos. I'm not going to really dig deep into that today. But basically, you want to be doing things, you want to have an intact circadian rhythm. You want to be sleeping really well. You want to be doing things like intermittent fasting. You want to be doing things like exercise, really optimizing your sun exposure, minimizing your exposure to EMFs, cold exposure, sauna, all these different things improve the health of your mitochondria. And they also do something called mitochondrial biogenesis, which helps you to make new mitochondria. Now, the third genome, and this is really exciting because you have the most control over the third genome, which is your microbiome genome. So you can't control the genes you get from mom and dad. You can't control the mitochondrial genes you get from your mom. But the bacteria in your gut, and there are literally billions and billions, trillions actually, of these bacteria in your gut. If you weigh it out, it's like 3 or 4 pounds, and on an individual level, you can't even see these little guys. But that is changing throughout your life. And when you really optimize the diversity and you feed the right bacterial populations in your gut, guess what? You activate different longevity genes, things like AMPK. And then AMPK and sirtuins work hand in hand. So when you activate AMPK, you're also activating sirtuins. And that has a big influence on your longevity. Other genes that you activate when you do the right things are the NRF2 pathway, which plays a very big role in your body's detoxification. So having good mitochondrial health, That is very key for detoxification and also activating NRF2. And when you do that through proper diet and properly taking care of your microbiome, feeding the right bacterial populations, you're going to activate these different genes that increase your longevity, have different anti-aging benefits. They help you burn more fat through increasing your metabolism. You break down your food better, so you absorb more nutrients into your gut, and then you're getting more nutrients to your cells that need those nutrients, so your cells can stay good and healthy. Now, another thing with NRF2, just something real quick to share, some of the foods you really want to be eating to really target NRF2, for AMPK, I've talked about that a lot before. I haven't talked a whole lot about NRF2, but some foods that are really great for that, one is sulforaphane, and you get that from cruciferous vegetables. It's actually highest, at least this is my understanding, maybe there's some undiscovered food where it's higher, but sulforaphane is highest in broccoli sprouts. Now, you can't really buy these at most stores because they have a pretty short shelf life, but this is something that I've been growing myself at home. They taste like crap. Some people might like them. I think they taste horrible, but they've got so many health benefits that I just kind of suck it up. I'll shove them down my mouth and I'll eat them. But if you're not willing to eat broccoli sprouts, you can't eat broccoli. You will get some sulforaphane from broccoli, but you can also use herbs, things like turmeric. If you don't like the taste of turmeric, you can supplement with curcumin. You can use resveratrol and also bacopa, which is a really good nootropic. So those are some things to help you really activate NRF2. But in general, to really have a healthy, diverse microbiome, you want to be eliminating junk foods. You want to be minimizing your exposure to gluten. You don't want to be drinking too much. A glass or two of wine is okay, but heavy drinking really wreaks havoc on your microbiome. And when you're eating the wrong foods, when you're drinking too much, guess what? You're feeding the wrong kind of bacteria and you're activating the wrong kind of genes, and you're not activating your longevity genes. Now, the other thing is these genes, they turn on the genes in your gut. They're turning on these different genes in your DNA that you got from mom and dad. So just to let you know, the two bacteria you really want to target, one is acromancia, which is super key to have a healthy gut lining. And today, most people have a leaky gut. And what that means is undigested food is getting into your bloodstream. Your body doesn't recognize it, creates antibodies, it launches an attack, and that can set you up for food sensitivities, different allergies, and when it gets really bad, autoimmune disease. So you really want to heal your gut lining by feeding acromancia and red phenols, different plants and vegetables that are high in red phenols are great to feed acromancia. And then you want to be feeding your bifidobacteria, which makes butyrate, which really helps to heal and seal your gut lining. Further, it keeps pathogens from going out of the gut into the bloodstream. And it also cross-feeds other bacteria, so you have a better bacterial diversity. And one of the best ways to do that is by eating raw vegetables. And there are some other things you can do as well, but you also want to be eating healthy proteins. The raw vegetables are good for the large intestine and the colon. The healthy proteins are good for the small intestine to really keep that healthy, to be feeding those bifidobacteria, so you make lots of butyrate, and so you activate these different longevity genes. So hope you learned something new today, but the key point here is gut health is super important, and we're hearing more and more about the health of your gut. I want to throw this in here, I don't really recommend stool tests. So that's a really big deal. Everyone's like, oh, I want to find out what's in my microbiome. If you can afford to do it a lot, it might make sense. But the thing is as you change your diet, your microbiome is changing. So every time you do a stool test, it's going to be changing. But if you can afford to do it like once every week for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, that's probably going to give you interesting information. But just doing it one-off, especially if you're shifting from a poor diet to a good diet, there is going to be a big change as you change your food, as you get different exposures. The other thing about really maintaining gut health that isn't talked about today is you have circadian clocks in your gut. So if you're not watching the sunrise, if you're not syncing up your circadian rhythm, then guess what? Your circadian rhythm in your gut is going to be out of sync. Your enterocytes or your gut lining isn't going to properly turn over, and you're going to continue to have gut issues. So you really want to be blocking blue light, and you want to be feeding your gut the right things, but also you want to pay attention to the timing and your circadian rhythm. So I kind of went off on a little tangent there. But anyway, thanks so much for checking this out. If you like this, give it a like. Make sure you are subscribed and hit that little ding button so you get those alerts. And if you think this could help somebody else out, go ahead and share it. And I'd really appreciate that. That'd be a real solid for me. And I will be back again soon with a new video.